I just saw the Fantastic Four 4 times in 10 days, and I still can't stop thinking about it. Not just because it was good, it was absolute cinema, as the kids might say, but because it almost got everything right. The tone, the stakes, the heart of the story. It genuinely felt like a course correction con sazón. Not just for the Fantastic Four, for the entire future of the MCU. So this video isn't just a review of Fantastic Four. It's a full deep dive on what it did well, where it stumbled, and how it's setting up the biggest reset in cinematic history. The smartest thing that Marvel ever did with First Steps was to pull the story out of the main MCU canon. This bad boy is set in an entirely different universe outside of the MCU, specifically Earth 828, which I might add is a great Easter egg because it references the birth date of the king of comics himself, Jack Kirby. What makes this change so awesome, at least to me, is that the whole vibe of the film is retro-futuristic, similar to what you would see from the Jetsons in your Saturday morning cartoons. At least what your grandpa would say, because I was watching the Power Rangers and Timmy Turner. This simple change made the movie feel completely unique, but it also allowed us, the audience, to still feel connected to the canon. The best part about the entire thing is that the aesthetic is not just a gimmick. This world feels familiar, but just different enough to give the story room to breathe. There's no Avengers cameos, thank God, no multiverse exposition dumps. It is just a clean slate to tell a classic story. I absolutely love how this movie is embracing the core elements that made the Fantastic Four a pillar of Marvel Comics. Because in the end, this is just a group of people with extremely different personalities that bicker and go on wacky sci-fi adventures together. And visually, I have to say, First Steps did come in clutch, at least in like 80% of the scenarios. Yes, I'm looking at you, Franklin. God damn it, you are crossing right into the uncanny valley, and I cannot unsee it. But it is because it leans so hard into that legacy with all gas and no brakes that the world we are introduced to feels so vibrant and lived in. It gives us kind of a 60s inspired scientific optimism. At every single corner, you can see analog TVs next to quantum computers in the middle of New York. That beautifully nods to the original comics while feeling oddly fresh. Don't get me wrong, the visuals are badass, but the metaphor for why they matter runs even deeper. This is a universe that, akin to Superman, believes in itself. It's not dystopian, it is actually aspirational. And that aspirational tone spills into everything the movie tries to cover, from the family dynamics between our squad, to the muscle mommy surfer herself, Shala Ball, and of course, her hungry hippo asshole of a boss. I'm sorry, Galactus, don't come at me. But the cool thing is, that movie magic is not just in the visuals. Michael Giacchino deserves a statue just for what he did in The Batman, but in this score, he elevates every single frame like his life depends on it. The orchestra sections mixed in with the all-time great theme song that is honestly right now emblematic of the Fantastic Four, that starts to repeat in different moments with different tempos, just like what he did in The Batman back in 2022. It feels like John Williams was trying to score a Neil deGrasse Tyson documentary, and it was fucking awesome. But the reason that we stayed and cheered to the very end was because of the Let's start by talking about Reed Richards. I mean, this man is the leader of the team, so all you need is to nail his personality. And Pedro Pascal was up to the task. Yo no sé por qué it's cool to hate on Pedro Pascal for being in all our favorite franchises. I mean, he's been working for like 20 years to get to this point, and it's especially cruel if he's doing a really good job at it. This is like the exact opposite issue that we have with The Rock. But what I can tell you is that Pedro plays the shit out of Luffy. Reed Richards. We get a brilliant scientist with a warm heart that feels haunted by his own brilliance. He is a human calculator who sees the math in every decision that he makes, every possible outcome, how it could affect him, except when it comes to his own family. His obsession with solving the universe becomes a metaphor for control. He is weighing the costs of preventing Galactus from devouring all our asses like we're sashimi, and homie, it leads to some emotional, juicy storytelling. There's one scene between him and Sue when they're talking about Franklin where he quietly reveals a confession that hit the entire theater like a truck. Cause listen, by now we know that Galactus just wants the family to sacrifice Franklin because he wants a vacation. He wants to go to the Celestial Marvel's version of Cancun, while Frank takes his place to eat the rest of the universe. The moment is beautifully pictured. It's a fight between husband and wife, where Reed is visibly fighting his own instincts and debating every possibility of surviving. It's calculated, all the while having to come face to face with Sue calling him out on it. She is deeply hurt, not because Reed actually thought about giving Franklin up, because in the end he doesn't want to. It's because the idea went through his mind and he's contemplating doing it even when the entire family is telling him not to. Peak fucking cinema in a kids movie, homie. Actually, perfect segue to the emotional core of this entire film. My girl Vanessa Kirby was serving as Sue Storm. She's not just the heart of the team in this instance, she is the team. Her arc as a mother, a scientist, and a leader doesn't feel tackled on or cliche. At every single corner, she doesn't just react to Reed's plans, she's actively challenging them. I'm so glad her powers were handled in a unique way too. There's chromatic aberrations every single time that she uses her powers. It's like looking through a light prism, compared to whatever the fuck they were trying to do with Jessica Alba. Actually, now that I'm talking about it, this is our formal apology letter to Miss Alba, because she deserved so much better than what she got. Anywho, Vanessa's version of the character goes from a simple and warm motherly moment using her powers as a way to check on Franklin, to turning an entire fucking ship invisible and projecting force fields while she's giving birth. Ella es una verdadera bichota. But all of those moments hit so well because they're metaphors for her role on the team. She is the emotional protector, the one that sets the boundaries for every mission, standing on business, holding things together, even when society is telling her to make the ultimate sacrifice. Speaking of, we gotta talk about the bad boys of the group, Mr. Johnny and Ben. Joseph Quinn understood the assignment perfectly when he was cast as this character. Johnny Storm starts as expected, hot-headed, impulsive, chasing the thrill and cracking jokes at every single chance he gets. But Quinn's performance gives us a new side to Johnny, a dude with quiet insecurities, particularly in the way that he handles praise and responsibility. But it pays off in a brilliant way near the third act, in a way that redefines his role on the team. He's not just the comic relief anymore. He's become the fire that protects rather than destroys. It's that teetering on the edge of confidence and vulnerability that grounds his brand of humor, and it makes him one of my favorite characters in the entire thing. All that rizzing up the Silver Surfer wasn't just for laughs. It's the subtle exploration of identity and how smart he truly is, proving once and for all that he's not just a nepo baby. He deserves to be on the team. This is actually the best part of how they handled his character. All the yapping, all the insecurities, it all had a purpose. Behind the bravado and the quips is an extremely intelligent guy, and that's when he finally steps up and uses his smarts to beat the Surfer. Using the voice recordings to actually kind of recruit the Silver Surfer to help them was a god-tier 300,000 IQ move. Okay, here's the thing. Wait a second, I don't think that came out right. Let's do it again. Here's the thing. No, that's not what I meant. Unfortunately, Ben Grimm gets the least amount of screen time out of the four, but arguably, he has some of the deepest context in the entire flick. Eben Moss-Backrack took what Michael Chiklis did and cranked that shit up to 11, because even with the limited screen time, Ben isn't reduced to punchlines or simple plot padding. He's not the token bruiser, he's the lens through which the movie explores the very thing, you see what I did there? That the Fantastic Four represent, the trauma of transformation. Let's start with what isn't said in his performance. Ben Grimm never monologues about his pain. He doesn't cry out for help. In fact, most of his emotional beats are given in complete silence. Still shots along Yancey Street, glances in the reflection in the middle of the street. The way that he just pauses and calms himself down as he's entering a room. It's that level of restraint that makes his performance land so freaking well. You could say it's fantastic.
Say that again?
You feel it in the way that he's slightly opening up, for example, when Johnny tells him that he looks good with a rocky beard. It's perfectly seasoned world building, and I loved it. Also, I kind of love how they handled his Jewish identity. It's never really announced super loudly, but it sits in the details, something that we haven't really seen in live action that much. His struggle, not just with being the Thing, it's about holding on to his faith, going to the synagogue, his love for cooking, and for the people that bring him happiness, even when the reflection in the mirror no longer feels human. We did get the setup for a slightly romantic subplot for Ben with a girl called Ross, which isn't his main love interest in the comics, but she is in this movie format. Sadly, it didn't get fleshed out in the way that we wanted to, but I do hope that we get to see it explored a little bit more in the eventual 30 sequels that are gonna spawn down the pipeline. What I love the most about this version of Ben is that he doesn't crack jokes to mask his sorrow. He's not begging Reed for a cure, he is resigned, but not bitter, and that nuance absolutely matters. Why? Well, because it reframes his entire identity. He's not a victim of getting the short end of the superhero power stick, but instead he represents a quiet act of acceptance and spiritual endurance, if you will. He is what happens when the body breaks, but the heart keeps showing up. Although, it's pretty fucking cool when he gets to say the line, okay? We waited every single moment for the trailer to give us the clobbering time, and when it happens, it's pretty cool. Okay, we just spent a thick-ass chunk of time talking about the heroes, so let's have a little chat about the... In the great words of Dwayne Johnson, finally! Galactus is no longer a fucking joke. He is awesome. He's no longer a gray fart cloud in the middle of space. He is a goddamn cosmic menace. He feels biblical, terrifying even. The scale of him, visually, in full IMAX glory, it is, Future, help me out here.
Sensational.
But while Galactus sets up the cosmic threats in a way that we didn't really see coming, the heart of this film, when it comes to the villains, is actually Julia Garner's Silver Surfer. A lot of people were pressed that we're not getting Norrin Radd, but Shala Bal is the perfect introduction to this character. She is haunted by the decisions that she had to make in the past. A scientist who sacrifices her humanity to serve this hungry behemoth so he spares her home planet. In the beginning of the movie, frankly, she moves, talks, and acts like a ghost, somebody who's already made peace with damnation. And it's until later in the film, when they tell us her backstory, that we begin to understand why. Because she hasn't just sacrificed her child and her home to serve Galactus, she has sacrificed her entire identity, her voice, her autonomy. The Surfer, in this story, is both a herald and a hostage, bound by a cosmic oath made in desperation. The symmetry between Sue and the Surfer is intentional. It's not just aesthetic. Both of them are protectors, mothers who carry impossible burdens. The flick gives us a glimpse into the Surfer's home planet, Zenla, in a haunting flashback. It's a lush world that could turn into ash asi in any second. We see a child that she couldn't save, a family that now only remembers her in fragments of their own memories. Tie that to the sound design and Michael Giacchino's score, and it's character development that I could only describe as, wait for it.
It's fantastic.
Say that again?
I had to do it. I had to do it again. Okay, joke's over. Because now we have Galactus, who switches up the entire core of what it means to be a bad guy. Again, finally, not a cringy CGI fart cloud, but also not a cartoon, not even a villain. This Galactus is old as shit, okay? He's tired, but not in the way that Thanos was. He doesn't seek to conquer. He's not yapping with a wacky self-serving ideology. He exists to endure and to consume. And it is that weariness that defines him. Ralph Ineson's voice work is fantastic. You thought I was gonna do it again, didn't you? I got you. Nah, it is ridiculous though. That deep and thunderous voice is killer, but somehow it's beautifully layered. There's weight behind every single word, and when Galactus finally addresses Franklin in the palm of his hand, it hits like Lionel Messi scoring a hat trick, okay? Glorioso. Because Galactus in First Steps isn't trying to win, he's actually trying to end. The twist isn't that he wants to destroy the Earth. It's that he's drawn to Franklin because the child represents something that he's never seen in eons. A release. Not just from hunger, but from the physical discomfort of being a god built to destroy. Franklin is extremely overpowered. We're gonna cover him in a whole separate video, but essentially, he is a wielder of the power cosmic. The ability to transmute and create matter, even entire universes, in the blink of an eye. This little munchkin essentially has
the power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
Anywho, this relationship between Marvel Jack Jack and Walmart Kirby changes everything. It reframes Galactus not as an evil maniac, but as a true inevitability, a force of nature yearning for extinction. And the Surfer, knowing this, isn't just gonna try to stop him. She's going to try to free him. Her betrayal, when it comes, isn't a dramatic heel turn, it's an earned payoff through Johnny Storm and the connection between them that feels like poetry in slow motion. From the black hole sequence to the climax, where the Silver Surfer pushes Galactus through that portal, little spoiler alert, it is one of the most emotionally satisfying visuals the MCU has ever put to screen. That's just my opinion. No quips, no catchphrases, just an inevitable end. And when the Surfer fades into the singularity to save Franklin, it doesn't feel like just a sacrifice. It feels like redemption. Because First Steps understands something that very few comic book movies dare to explore. The idea that power isn't just about scale, it's about pain. The longer that you hold it, the heavier it becomes. It is so damn poetic, I can't even believe this is a freaking Marvel movie. Galactus is no longer a force to be feared. He is a god begging for peace. And the Surfer isn't just a herald, she's the heart of the story, a fallen angel who finally gets to stop falling. Okay, but I think there's something missing. What the hell happens now? Ah, verdad, se me olvidó. I already made a video talking about Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. This is the kind of meta casting that should not work. But the main thing that we have to praise this movie for is how they tease that casting and set up the big baddie in a way that makes sense for the story. We never see his face, but we feel his presence all throughout the runtime in silence. And in the end, we get to see that juicy, glorious, sensational piece of armor. Listen, I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. Matt Shakman did not announce Doom with a villain speech or a flashy suit reveal. He did something far better. They show you what the world would look like without him. And then they make you wonder what it would look like if he actually decided to intervene. Because in this film, Doom's legacy is already baked into the universe. He first acts alone. Like, we get 2 or 3 key moments where he's quietly supposed to be there, but unmistakably he is absent. It feels like he's a looming figure behind everything that's about to happen. Everybody is losing their shit at a presentation on how they should deal with Galactus, and we see all the countries trying to pitch in, but the Latverian delegate's seat is always empty. The conversation moves on, but the camera stays on the chair, just enough for you to ask, oh shit, why exactly is Latveria not here? The absence of seeing him is the message. Doom knows exactly what the fuck is coming. He just doesn't see Galactus as his problem. At least, not yet. This is genius level narrative restraint. By the time that the post-credits scene rolled around, Doom hasn't said a single freaking word, but he's the character that you are most curious about. And then, Papa, we get the money shot. We need to talk about this post-credit scene. So if you haven't seen the movie, está bien fucking tarde, okay? Go watch it and then come back. Because Phase 4 and Phase 5 could be considered the era where post-credit scenes literally fell off. They just link us to a new Disney Plus show that feels like homework, or they tease a character that ends up having zero payoff. Yes, I'm talking about you, Blade. God damn it, give Mahershala Ali his movie. But this film's post-credit scene isn't just a teaser. It is a freaking mission statement. Sue is at home chilling with Franklin 4 years after the events of the film, reading some science to him as a bedtime story. Classic Franklin. And just like that, in the second that she steps out just for a little bit, boom, she comes back to find somebody waiting in the shadows right in front of her child. Victor Von Stark. Victor Von Doom. But this isn't the out-of-the-box cringy depiction that we get in other adaptations. This Doom is calm, patient. He doesn't even care that Sue is in the room. He's taken his mask off to reveal it to the most powerful being in the universe and try to come off as a friend. Esto está hijo de puta en buen español, because it's not leading with Doom's arrogance. It's intimacy. He's trying to form a bond with a literal god. It's the kind of reveal that flips the entire film on its head, because suddenly everything that felt like an isolated story became a prelude. Doom nunca estuvo ausente, and now he's ready to screw everybody right the fuck up. Here's what makes this setup so powerful. Doom is not being framed as the next Thanos. He's not chasing balance or conquest. He is looking to prepare. The multiverse is already fragmented as hell. We saw it in Loki, we saw it in Multiverse of Madness, and of course, No Way Home. The setup for the incursions is seeded throughout First Steps. Reed himself warns us about other dimensions that run parallel to our own, and Doom He knows what the fuck is up. He's already seen the edge of the map. He knows Galactus and Franklin are real, actual threats. But instead of warning the world and helping to save it, he's building a plan to survive all of it, even if it means rewriting reality itself. This is the perfect setup for Avengers Doomsday. I can't even write it in a better way. Because Doom isn't the villain who breaks the multiverse. He's the one who tries to save a small version of it, just to crown himself the king. Expect the battle world tease in the next movie, and you can expect the confrontation with Franklin to become the emotional spine of the coming collapse leading up to Secret Wars. Speaking of which, here is the real play, how everything comes together, at least the way that I think it will. In Secret Wars, Doom doesn't just survive the incursions, he's probably going to win them. This is where First Steps is planting the seed that casual viewers won't really get to catch on first watch, but the lore fans are going to obsess over it. The visual motif of stars and galaxies in Sue's eyes when Franklin's powers save her life. The black hole scene is setting up the collapse and the destruction of everything around it, very Interstellar coded. But the most important part is that Doom is showing up in person to deal with this issue. It is setting up the road to the incursions. Every single one of those breadcrumbs points to a future where Doom isn't just trying to rule Battleworld, he's trying to rewrite the entire story. And Doom wants that power, not just for conquest, but for full control of a reality. Because obviously he believes that when the incursions come, and yeah, they will come, he's the only one that can hold the pieces together. And if you've read Hickman's 2015 Secret Wars run, you know exactly where the hell this is going. Doom, in theory, is going to become God Emperor Doom. Not only because he wants to be a god, but because he sees that no one else would be capable of stitching up a dying multiverse into something coherent. He sees himself as the chosen one, and Marvel Studios has been laying the groundwork for that shit perfectly so far. First Steps is positioning Doom as a different kind of cosmic inevitability. He's not evil in the way that Thanos was, or burdened with power like Galactus. He is a problem that the universe doesn't know how exactly to solve. Avengers Doomsday is just around the corner, and it's clearly going to be a pivot point for the entire franchise. The moment where timelines begin to unravel, the incursions happen, and the fractured ideologies that we've known for the past 20 years are going to clash. Doom obviously is going to be at the center, and his arrogance to believe that he can be an architect for a brand new universe is going to be the crux of it all. Which brings us to exactly what Secret Wars could actually be. Not just another crossover event, but the last great Marvel story of this era. Think of it as a send-off, a eulogy to everything that we know so far. Close your eyes, I want you to think about it. The Fox X-Men standing side by side with the new generation, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Fuck it, you can even bring Eric Bana's Hulk for good measure. All caught in the gravitational pull of Doom's Battleworld, each one representing a small piece of Marvel's legacy, each about to be rewritten. And when the dust settles, nobody is safe. We are going to get a full-on reset. Kevin Feige and the rest of the production team have already teased that the MCU is going to reboot at some point, and it would be amazing to see it work similar to the way that X-Men 97 does its thing. One universe, shared and understood, where Spider-Man and Daredevil, maybe even the Human Torch, can team up on a random Tuesday to take down the Kingpin in Hell's Kitchen. Not because he's an Avengers-level threat, but because that's what they do. A world where the X-Men are known, where Reed Richards is respected, where the characters aren't constantly being introduced in a new Disney Plus show and then thrusted into a movie. They just exist together like they do in the comics that we've loved for decades. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this though, the movie wasn't entirely perfect. We need to talk about the things that didn't work because First Steps is not perfect. Visually, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the film hits incredible highs, especially when it comes to Galactus and the Silver Surfer. There's moments that feel like all-time greats, wide shots that belong in a freaking museum, especially the black hole scene. My god, yeah, yacht, okay? It feels like Interstellar. The scale is there, the weight of every single choice, the sense that we are witnessing something truly cosmic for the first time. But then sometimes the backgrounds, when the characters are chatting, especially with the Thing, you'll catch a flicker of that all too familiar Marvel green screen effect, or a lighting mismatch that pulls you out of the scene when Ben is delivering a solid line of dialogue. And yeah, Franklin Richards, as much as I love what he represents narratively, sometimes he looks like he'd wandered in from a failed Xbox demo, okay? The uncanny valley creeps in just enough to be super noticeable. Pacing-wise though, I didn't have that many problems, except in the second act. It feels like they're racing against the clock. It looks like the editing for this movie was chopped up so much that they left like 20 to 40 minutes in the cutting room floor. We're introducing a brand new version of the Fantastic Four, teasing Galactus, the Silver Surfer, birthing Franklin, planting the seeds for Dr. Doom, sketching the edges of the entirely new universe reboot plan, and yeah, okay, that is a lot. Ambition is impressive, but it comes at a cost. Characters like Ben Grimm, who clearly have a deeper story to tell, get sidelined. You see the character layers there, but they're mostly left unspoken. You see that the layers are there, but they're mostly left untouched. You know that there's an emotional core to all of this, but you don't quite get below the surface. Still, even when you have those stumbles, this film hits like crack. First Steps isn't just another MCU movie, it's a signal. A message that Marvel is finally willing to take big risks again. Smaller stories with massive implications that don't have to follow the old playbook to build something that matters. And the numbers are backing it up. It's got a strong wave of reviews, both from the critics and the fans. Word of mouth is at an all-time high. This film is a massive win for the Fantastic Four, and it's a huge win for the idea that Marvel can evolve. If we're lucky, ironically, First Steps is the first glimpse of an entirely new era. One that embraces the complex emotions in the writing, even if it's just weird and quirky, and characters that earn their spot in the MCU, not just inherit it. Look, I love this movie. I've been yapping about it for close to an hour because it wasn't just in the visuals or the casting or even how that long overdue redemption of Marvel's first family finally came about. Everything was built from the ground up with intention to soft reboot elements that can lead to the multiversal incursions that we're going to see in Doomsday. The message is crystal clear. The MCU that we knew is on borrowed time, mi hermano. And the one that's coming, it's gonna be different, stranger, bigger, and hopefully a heck of a lot smarter. Because the next battle that we're gonna see isn't just about survival, it's about reshaping reality itself. I'm gonna cover Superman and a bunch of other topics in a couple next videos, and especially we're going to dive deep into how Doomsday is going to set the table up for Secret Wars and what the movie needs to do at the end of this era to give a nice bow tie to the MCU. Because sometimes the only way that we can look forward is to have a full fucking reset.